Football fans waiting for the kickoff for the big event of the upcoming NFL season, round one of the 2015 NFL Draft. Taking place in Chicago for the first time ever, the draft has become one of the biggest sporting events of the year and a gold mine for sponsors looking to cash in on the hype ahead of football season. Joining me right now is Genesco Sports CEO and President John Tatum. Still with me on set, Keith McCullough and Tony Dwyer. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, Maria. Thanks for having me on.
So why is this so important?
Well, you talk about trades and futures, and certainly there'll be a lot of trades tonight with a lot of young men becoming multimillionaires over the course of a matter of hours. And you talk about futures, the future of billion-dollar NFL franchises could be determined tonight based on who these owners and their general managers select. So this is the center of the NFL universe tonight in Chicago. And
the money story is a big one. Why does this command such big dollars?
Well, I think, the power of the NFL and Americans' insatiable appetite for the NFL and just football as a sport really is what's driving it. So you think about, of all the TV sports events, the NFL Draft is a higher-rated sports program than the Major League Baseball All-Star Game, or even more people that watch the NBA All-Star Game this past year in New York. So it's definitely the king of sports in the United States.
And Keith, you said earlier this is the biggest gambling weekend.
Oh, it's the biggest gambling day because you have the Derby, you have the fight, and you have to John's point the draft. And millennials love to bet on this stuff. There's the technology that is bracketology. People are putting a lot of money on the line, but they're not putting it legally on the line in Vegas. Our casino analyst Todd Jordan says, look, it's going to be the biggest day, but only 1% or less of the money bet today is actually going to be bet in Nevada. So again, it's a big day. People love to engage with this. I sent an email to the younger guys on our team, particularly the guys who played football before this. They all have opinions, longs versus shorts, who's overrated, underrated. I mean, it's a big, gigantic information fest.
It's one of those times where you actually want them to start working and stop watching the draft and gambling and figuring out what party they're going to go to. I hope all the kids in school and college are studying for finals instead of watching the draft party.
Yeah, right. John, what about that?
It's sports. It's the sports business.
Right.
It is business, right?
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is, though. I mean, we will actually have these draft days, the tournaments, et cetera, on in the office. I think that you absolutely have to provide that in this day and age. Isn't this what you're seeing from a trending perspective in the ad business?
Absolutely. I mean, fantasy football is huge. Predictive games. You get into some of these companies like DraftKings and FanDuel, and you get into daily predictive gaming. So only in America. You don't have to be Jerry Jones or Dan Snyder or Woody Johnson to be a billionaire to own a team. Only in America could you have a fantasy team.
Well, what's so interesting to me, and maybe you can comment on this, is how poor the correlation is between the draft picks and success, top draft picks and success in the NFL. Yet it's one of the biggest business events and marketed events. Was it a marketing coup more than it was an actual effective way to get the best players?
Well, that's a great point. I think there's both sides. If you think back to the Rooney family, Art Rooney bought the Steelers for $2,500 in 1933 and didn't have a lot of success for a long time. And all of a sudden in 1974, the Steelers had a tremendous draft, drafted 4 players that all became Hall of Famers in that draft. And the draft in 74 set the foundation for the success of winning 4 Super Bowls in the 70s, which propelled the Steelers into becoming a billion-dollar-plus asset for the Rooney family and a $1 billion team. Yeah. So, there are some there are some first-round draft picks that have become busts. But there are also some players that, Tom Brady was drafted number 199. And think about what that selection meant to the trajectory of Mr. Kraft and the Patriots team. And, even when Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys in 1989 for approximately $140 million, and he traded away the best player, Herschel Walker. Excuse me, unheard of. And but that set up the ability for them over the course of the draft to draft players like Emmitt Smith and Darryl Johnston and all the Hall of Famers that they had and go on to win 3 Super Bowls over the next 5 years.
That's such great analysis. You're right, John. All right, give us some insight here. You've spoken to all the owners. Who do you think is going to be the first pick this draft?
Well, I haven't spoke to all the owners, Maria, so I'll caveat it with that. And
that's like a strategist hat.
What does your gut tell you? Come on, John, give us some news.
It's like a strategist hat.
Well, I think that the conventional wisdom right now is that Jameis Winston will be the first choice. I remember several years ago there was a last-minute shocker when Mario Williams was drafted by the Houston Texans ahead of Reggie Bush, who ended up going to the New Orleans Saints. But I believe Jameis Winston will be the first pick in the draft, and we'll see how his career pans out.
All right, we'll be watching. John, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Maria.
We'll see you soon.